Let's begin. Someone close to you is having imaginary conversations with you constantly, practicing different versions of the same difficult truth, testing out phrases in their mind, trying to find the exact combination of words that will communicate what needs to be said without destroying what exists between you. But no such combination exists because some truths are just inherently disruptive, and no amount of careful phrasing changes that. They're stuck in the gap between knowing they need to speak and not knowing how. And that gap is widening every day, making normal interactions feel increasingly false, creating distance they can't explain, generating tension you can probably feel but can't identify the source of. You might have noticed them being strange, slightly off, not quite present even when they're right in front of you. Let me describe what internal conflict looks like when someone's trying to figure out how to tell you something. Every conversation with you becomes two conversations. The one actually happening on the surface is less than hash zero. 5 hash is greater than. And the one they're having internally about whether this is the moment to finally say it, they're scanning for openings, windows where confession might fit, moments that feel safe enough to risk saying what they've been holding back. But every potential opening closes before they can use it. Fear wins. Momentum dies. And they leave another interaction having said nothing while the weight gets heavier. Some people carry unsaid things for months, years, even becoming expert performers of normalcy. They can smile, engage, participate in regular life, all while internally managing this massive thing they're not revealing, and the performance is exhausting them. You might notice their energy is different lately, more depleted, like they're working harder than usual just to be around you. That's the effort of maintaining facade, of keeping the secret compartmentalized, of pretending everything's fine when internally they're screaming with the need to speak. Or maybe they've been creating distance, subtle withdrawal, less available than they used to be, harder to reach. Not because they care less, but because proximity makes holding the secret harder. Every moment with you increases pressure to confess, and distance is their strategy for managing that pressure. Let's pause here. This reflection invites you to consider whose energy has felt carefully controlled lately, like they're monitoring themselves around you in ways that feel unnatural. Maybe they keep starting sentences and stopping mid thought is less than hash zero. 5 hash is greater than, like they're about to say something important but lose courage halfway through. Those false starts are attempts, little tests to see if they can get the words out, but fear catches them before completion. Or they've been asking strange questions, probing gently about your feelings on certain topics, trying to gauge how you might respond to what they need to tell you. They're gathering data, building prediction models, trying to calculate whether confession will destroy everything or whether there's possibility you'll understand. Some people conduct elaborate research before confessing, trying to create conditions where the truth will land softest, trying to control variables they can't actually control. But control gives them illusion of safety. So they keep preparing, keep strategizing, keep delaying the actual moment of truth. And you're on the receiving end of all this preparation, experiencing the weird energy it creates, sensing something's off without knowing what. Maybe you've asked directly, is something wrong? And they've said no, or I'm just tired, or some other deflection that's technically not a lie, but definitely not the truth. This reflection invites you to consider, have you been asking if someone's okay and getting answers that feel incomplete? Like they're telling you something, but not the actual thing. There's something specific about what they're trying to figure out how to tell you. It could be feelings is less than #0. 5 is greater than romantic feelings they've been hiding. They're in love with you, or used to be in love with you and aren't anymore. Or they've developed feelings that complicate the relationship you currently have. And either direction creates massive risk. Confessing love means potential rejection, potential loss of the friendship or connection you already have, potential awkwardness that makes continued interaction impossible. So they're weighing whether the relief of speaking is worth the risk of losing you entirely. Or they're trying to figure out how to tell you they don't feel what you think they feel, that they've been pretending, maintaining a dynamic they're not actually emotionally invested in. And ending that pretense means hurting you, disappointing you, revealing that what you thought you had was partly performance on their end. Some people would rather maintain comfortable lie than deliver uncomfortable truth. They'd rather keep pretending indefinitely than face the moment where they have to look at you and say words they know will cause pain. So they keep trying to figure out how, as if the right words would make the pain optional. But pain is built into this truth, and no phrasing changes that. Or maybe what they're trying to tell you is about choices they made, actions they took, things they did that affect you but you don't know about yet, betrayals, violations, decisions made without your input that impact your life. And they're trying to figure out how to confess without you hating them. Maybe they crossed boundaries, physical, emotional, financial. Maybe they were unfaithful, or they lied about something significant, or they've been living double reality you weren't aware of. And maintaining the deception is becoming impossible. Or they made major decision that affects both of you without consulting you. And now they have to tell you about the thing that's already done. They took job in different city, or they're ending the relationship, or they made financial choice that impacts you, and they're trying to figure out how to present fait accompli without it feeling like betrayal. This reflection invites you to consider what truth would be hardest for you to hear from someone you trust, And do you sense that truth hovering in the air between you? Let me describe what the delay is actually costing. Every day they don't speak is another day of inauthenticity, another interaction built on partial truth, another conversation where they're performing normalcy while internally managing chaos. And that division, that split between what they show and what they feel, is creating damage that accumulates. The longer they wait, the worse the eventual confession becomes. Because now it's not just the original truth, it's also the fact that they hid it for extended period, that they looked at you repeatedly and chose not to speak, that they let you operate on false information while they knew better. Some truths get worse with time is less than hash arrow. 5 hash is greater than not because the content changes, but because the context of concealment adds additional betrayal. Finding out someone's been hiding something for weeks is different than finding out they've been hiding it for months. The duration becomes its own violation, and they know this. They understand that delay is making it worse. But that understanding doesn't translate into action because fear is stronger than logic. And the fear of your reaction keeps winning over the knowledge that speaking is necessary. Meanwhile, you are living in false reality, making decisions based on incomplete information, building expectations on foundation that's partly fiction, investing in dynamic that's not actually what you think it is. And every day they delay is another day you're operating from that false baseline. This reflection invites you to consider if someone's been hiding something significant. Would you rather they told you now imperfectly or waited until they found perfect words that might never come? There's something about what you might need to do to make this easier. You could create opening, explicit permission for difficult truth. You could say directly, I can feel something's off, and I'd rather hear difficult truth than continue in this weird energy. Whatever it is, you can tell me. That doesn't guarantee they'll speak. But it removes some of the uncertainty, gives them explicit green light they've been hoping for. Some people need permission is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than need to be invited to share the hard thing. Because initiating confession feels too vulnerable without that invitation. Or you could practice your response in advance. Prepare yourself emotionally for possibility of hearing something you don't want to hear. Decide now how you want to show up when difficult truth arrives. So you're not just reacting from shock, but responding from grounded place you've already established. Some people react so strongly to difficult truth that they create an environment where truth becomes impossible. They punish honesty so severely, even when the honesty is necessary, that people around them learn to lie, to hide, to keep things from them because the alternative is explosion they can't handle. If you want people to tell you truth, you have to be someone who can receive truth, even painful truth, without making the truth teller regret their honesty. You can be hurt, angry, disappointed, all valid responses. But if you make confessions so traumatic that they wish they'd kept lying, you're training everyone around you to hide things from you. This reflection invites you to consider, do people feel safe telling you hard truths? Or do you create environment where difficult honesty gets punished? Let me address what happens when they finally speak. There will be relief for them, immediate, the weightlifting. But that relief will be quickly followed by fear of your response. Anxiety about what they've just set in motion is less than #0. 5# is greater than waiting to see if this truth destroys what you have or whether you can both survive it. For you, there will likely be shock first. Even if you suspected something, confirmation hits different than suspicion. Hearing it stated explicitly creates impact that wondering never quite achieves. Then you'll process, move through stages. Denial, maybe, anger, probably, sadness, likely. Eventually, some form of acceptance or decision about what this means. But those stages don't happen instantly. They take time, and you'll need space to move through them. Some truths change relationships forever, not always by ending them, but by fundamentally altering what they are. You can't unknow what you learn, can't return to the innocence of not knowing. So the relationship that exists before the truth is different than the relationship that exists after. Whether it's better or worse depends on the truth and on how both of you navigate the aftermath. Some truths destroy trust that can't be rebuilt. Some truths create deeper foundation than what existed before. Some truths just create different reality that requires adjustment but doesn't necessitate ending. You'll know which category this falls into once the truth is actually spoken, but not before. Speculation is useless. You can't prepare for every possibility. You can only commit to showing up as best version of yourself when the moment comes. And it's coming. They're getting closer to speaking is less than #0. 5# is greater than the internal pressure is building. The cost of silence is exceeding the fear of confession. And eventually, soon, probably, the dam will break. And you'll hear what they've been trying to figure out how to tell you. You remain in complete control of how you respond when truth arrives. You can receive it with grace or with rage, with understanding or with judgment, with openness or with shutdown. All valid, all your choice. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has heightened your awareness of someone whose energy doesn't quite match their words. Maybe anxiety about what they might be hiding. Maybe relief that the weird tension might finally get explained. Maybe recognition that, yes, someone is definitely holding something back. And now you're more aware of it. Whatever it is, honor it. Take what resonates. Softly release the rest. Trust yourself. Before we close, I want to ask you something. If someone was trying to figure out how to tell you something difficult, would you rather they just blurt it out or take time to find the right words? Drop it in the comments. And this, do you make it easy for people to tell you hard truths? Or do your reactions train people to hide things from you? They're trying to figure out how to tell you this. And the figuring is taking longer than it should, longer than is healthy, longer than serves either of you. Because perfect words don't exist is less than #0. 5# is greater than, and the longer they search for them, the heavier the secret gets. And the more damage the delay creates, the truth is coming. Imperfect, uncomfortable, necessary. And when it arrives, you'll both have to navigate what it means, together or separately, but you'll navigate it because truth always surfaces eventually. Not eventually, soon. Trust yourself with this. Trust that you can handle whatever they're holding, even if it hurts. Trust that knowing is better than wondering, even when wondering felt safer. Trust that truth, however difficult, is always better than comfortable lies.